Hello folks, in this tutorial of SAP BOBI 4.0 we are going to check out Architecture of Business Object Business Intelligence 4.0 and 4.1. This is third part of your video tutorial. Well, let's move on and let's check out our architecture of BOBI 4.0 4.1, where after releasing of 4.0 SAP Business Object has been designed on 64-bit architecture. As we already know that the server part is 64-bit. So whenever we go for deployment, we need to understand that how the architecture is going to be on 64-bit environment. Well, let's have a look here where we have now with this version there are 6 tiers available. We have at the bottom data tier, we have on the top processing tier, then we have storage tier, then we have management tier and web tier and client tier. Well, I can say there is one tier which especially nowadays called as processing tier. Well, this processing tier is nothing but the core infrastructure of my business object, business intelligence 4.0 or 4.1. Well, because more of the servers related to running this environment of business object is located onto the processing tier. Let me call up once again where the previously we had data tier, then processing tier, and then we have another tier at that time called intelligence tier. And after the intelligence tier, we had management tier and client tier. There were no web tier and storage tier available at that time. So one tier has been removed out of the 5 tiers and 2 tiers has been introduced. So total of 6 tier is now available, where this total tier and the previous 5 tier is going to be subsided into the processing tier. Well, what I mean by this is the intelligence tier server is now been integrated into the processing tier, where storage tier is now been introduced with web tier. Alright, so let's check out this flow one more time. We have a data tier, we have a processing tier, we have a storage tier, we have management tier, we have a web tier, and at the top we have a client tier. Well, have a look here how these entire tiers are divided and what type of functionality these tiers are going to give us. Into the next slide, we are going to check out the data tier part, where data tier is all about the source. So into this, we are going to have it Universe as a source, HANA as a source, Bex query as a source, file system as a source, Hadoop codes as a source, OLAP as a source, and analysis view as a source. So these are my list of sources or source system present onto the data tier. So this is all about the source, which I'm going to use it for the purpose of reporting. Well, let's move on, guys, and let's have a look onto this important tier, which is nothing but it's a core component of my entire infrastructure of business object. Well, at the processing tier, well, from the name itself, it is pretty clear. As it is placed on top of the data tier, it is going to do the processing of your data from your source systems. Well, there are several jobs and there are several servers allocated over here to manage the connectivity to the source system and to deliver the processing of your data from those source systems. So well, we have over here called adaptive job server, adaptive processing server. Adaptive job server and adaptive processing servers are going to be used for the purpose of delivering better insight of your sources, or whenever we are going to process my sources, those sources processing like an input and output will be done by this my adaptive job servers only. Where adaptive processing server task is to process the data from the source system to the further for the further movement. That means we are going to take out the data from the source tier or data tier, and we are going to move it to the further tiers. Alright, where connection server and connection server 32-bit, both are allocated over here for the purpose of delivering connectivity to the source system. Whatever source system present onto the data tier, we are going to deliver all of them over by using connection server. And these connection server plays a great importance onto our processing tier. Let me go back, guys, because we have several more enlisted data sources, because I can also mention some more data sources over here which is not formally going to be used, but that is something which is going to be used for the purpose of different manipulation inside the business object. Like, there is one important server we have called CMS. CMS is a server used for your purpose of system database, right? System database. That means my repository is allocated over here. So CMS is also an source, and if you want to do audit reporting, you have to stick with your auditing database. So I can specify this is something called specific data sources at the data tier side, and that is nothing but data store. Auditing data store, that is nothing but audit database. Alright, so rest all will be already discussed. We have this universe, we can divide it into two parts. First one is .unx or unv, and the second one will be my .unx. So both the files will be as a universe, as a source. As I mentioned, HANA, flat file, relational databases, all are over here as a source. Alright, so Bex query, under that I'm actually accessing my SAP BW. Actually, I'm accessing Bex query means I'm accessing my SAP BW environment. Alright, then the term is going to come over here called, we are going to have it another source called I can enlist it. As I mentioned, I can also specify the independent relational databases. Alright, so these are my sources present onto the source tier, guys. Well, let me move once again to the processing tier, and I was describing all the servers allocated onto the processing tier. Well, the task of adaptive job server, as I was saying, is to it's very generic process. The generic process is to, like, whenever we do a scheduling of job for variety of object type, then the server which is going to come in action is nothing but adaptive job server. Where adaptive processing server is a generic server that hosts services responsible for processing requests from variety of source. As I mentioned earlier also, this is going to use for the purpose of scheduling of your jobs, where the processing server is responsible for all the process of data coming from your source tier. Well, connection server is for 64-bit, and connection 32-bit is going to be used for the purpose of your 32-bit server. Alright, so 32-bit, if you are having any connection to the source which is 32-bit, then at that time we will have connection server 32-bit. That means the server which is going to come as an action for 32-bit connection is nothing but connection 32-bit server. Sometimes what happens when we are interacting with the client tools, we have to define a connection at that time, and the sources is 32-bit. So at that time we have to define a connectivity through the ODBC using 32-bit ODBC from syswow64 ODBC AD32, where connection server is for 64-bit. Well, you can go and you can check out your ODBC for 64 in your administrative tool of your operating system. Well, let me move on, guys, and let me take up the other servers present over here called Crystal Report Processing Server. Well, the Crystal Report Processing Server task is to process a report of Crystal Report and generate encapsulated page format like EPF files. The purpose of using Crystal Reports Processing Server is to processing of your Crystal Report, which actually generates encapsulated page format, that is EPF. Okay, encapsulated, in short we call it EPF files. The key benefit of EPS is that it supports page on demand access. Page on demand access. So only the requested page is returned, not the entire report. This improves system performance and reduces unnecessary network traffic for large report. And that is the purpose of your Crystal Report Processing Server. Remember that whenever the processing comes, it's all about your processing a data from the source to that specific BI. As Crystal is not a part of the business object suite, it's an independent one. We have a dedicated server for processing, which is going to process my report and also a specific page of report. So on demand access we can give it, and we can process it by using Crystal Report Processing Server, where this server is present in the version of Crystal Report 2011 and 2013 both. Where Crystal Report Application Server, we call it it's nothing but a report application server of your Crystal Report, and we call it RAS, Report Application Server for Crystal Report, which provides ad hoc reporting capability that allows users to create and modify Crystal Report via the SAP Crystal Report Server Embedded Software Development Kit, SDK. So the task of application server is to deliver RAS, that is nothing but report application server, or to provide report application. That means it actually used for the purpose of ad hoc reporting or ad hoc reporting capability under the Crystal Report application. By using this, user can modify the Crystal Report via the SAP Crystal Report Server Embedded Software Development Kit SDK, where basically we are going to do this onto the BI Launchpad side. We are doing it onto the BI Launchpad side. Now let's move on and check out the another server present inside it, where the another server present inside it is a dashboard processing server. Dashboard processing server, where we have certain more servers present over to the processing tier, as I mentioned, and we would like to add some more servers over here that has been introduced in 4.1 into this. So a couple of are there, so let me add those all over here. We have already dashboard processing server. We have two more, like we have a dashboard server. Let me have it one more, and here it is important. We can call it one more, is there for Crystal Report, especially for the like EPF file. As I mentioned earlier, the EPF file will be used. That's fine. So this is already there. Let me come up with the dashboard. Dashboard processing server is enlisted. We wanted to enlist my dashboard analytics server, and one more is there called dashboard server. Because of these two servers, we are able to connect our dashboard directly to the universe or to the back queries. So as I mentioned over here, another server which is present inside this is exploration or explorer server. Exploration server. It is using for the purpose of searching. So let me mention it. Exploration server. Let me have it one more because I believe there is one more. I need to add it to this explorer only, especially we wanted to do the explorer indexing server, so that will be easily tackled out. That is nothing but indexing server. Well, these are the server. We have it over here. As I mentioned, this tier is very important. This is heart of the business object infrastructure. So most of the processing thing will be done over here, where the purpose of dashboard processing server is to process your dashboard report, dashboard request, which is generated or which is used for processing your dashboards and generating the result out of it. Where we have two more servers used for dashboard. One is dashboard analytics server. The dashboard analytics server is used by BI workspace to create and manage corporate and personal BI workspace module content. Well, this is all about like analytics onto the dashboard side, which is separately dealt by the separate server called dashboard analytics server. Where dashboard server, it's a dedicated server. A dashboard server is used by the BI workspace to create and manage corporate and personal dashboard. This was only for analytics in the corporate dashboard, where this is for creating and using the BI workspace for my corporate and personal database or personal dashboards, personal dashboard reports. All right, where exploration server provides and manages the information space, exploring and analysis capabilities, including search on data, filtering and aggregation into the BI tools, where all this functionality, like how do we do the search over there, how do we do the filtration and aggregation, that has been handled by exploration server. Well, explorer indexing server provides and manages the indexing of information space data and metadata, so that exploration will be more easy to do over here onto the processing tier. Generally, we have another server dedicated over here for Explorer. We call it Explorer Search Server. Explorer Search Server process search queries and return search result. So I can place it, there is a small server over here that is dedicated for Explorer actually. So I can place it here, that is Explorer Search Server. So basically it's a Explorer search server, and this is going to be used for the purpose of, as I mentioned, processing search query and return search result. Whenever we do a search, we are going to get it this server in action. Well, the last server present on site, the processing tier, is my web intelligence processing server. As by concluding all of it, we can easily describe the web intelligence processing server. The web intelligence processing server is responsible for generating web intelligence documents. The web intelligence processing server obtains document creation requests from the web application server and then communicate with the input file repository server in order to obtain a copy of web intelligence document that is nothing but a WID file. And the universe definition, because we are going to take up the source as a universe, so universe definition, and as it is going to take out the file repository server order to create the web intelligence document, that is WID, request will be generated over here to create a new document of web intelligence report. That will be handled by the separate server called web intelligence processing server.